This episode's brought to you by the Public Domain Shop, a clothing brand inspired by classic literature and film. Use the code Wolff to get 10% off your next sweatshirt purchase. Who doesn't love John Candy?
Fuck if I know.
Not every movie he made was good. Hell, there's an interview in this where he admitted to doing a lot of favors. But even that interviewer pointed out that whether or not the movie stinks, he didn't. And John Candy, I Like Me, did a great job at showing it was because his greatest strength and weakness as a person was his ability to reach people on screen and in real life. This movie was directed by Colin Hanks, which... yeah, on paper it sounds like it's just because his dad made Splash and Volunteers with Candy, but to his credit, Tom Hanks' interview had some of the funniest and most profound stories in the film. From Hanks hilariously discovering John in an SCTV sketch about Leave It to Beaver planning a murder, which, look for that on YouTube, man, we laughed our asses off in the theater. And also explaining Candy's collaborative process of improving or workshopping a scene where it wasn't about who got the next zingers, but what they could each bring to the scene to make them equally funny. And Colin brings just as much to this doc as his old man or any of the other interviews by actually giving the movie an intimate visual style. And don't get me wrong, it's nothing we haven't seen before. Old pictures, home movies, interviews old and new, but Hanks did a couple clever techniques I hadn't seen before where, if the conversation was nothing but pictures, it'd operate like a slideshow with sound effects, focus-ins, or zooming out one picture of him and John Hughes to reveal something I don't want to spoil, you just have to see for yourself. And before I forget, pay close attention to the MGM lion at the beginning of the film, because if you blink at it, you might miss a great joke. But probably the most emotional part of the filmmaking was, every time it had cut away to a certain era of his career, there'd be a calendar that'd rewind from 1994 to whatever year it was. And because the movie interestingly begins and ends with Candy's death, we're just as aware of his mortality as Candy seemed to be in his own life. And that's the tricky thing about reviewing a documentary like this. I can't really give that many details away because, to be honest, there wasn't anything unpredictable or surprising about Candy's life aside from the individual anecdotes each interviewer has, and even then, there have been TV documentaries that had some of the exact same stories. I mean, if you've seen John Candy's E! True Hollywood Story, you know half of the stories in this. Only I Like Me gives much more context that makes them even funnier or sadder. In Catherine O'Hara's case, a dream she had of him that was both. But since everyone in the film was a close friend or family member of his, when Candy's own kids who bear quite a resemblance to him, or Macaulay Culkin talks about the fatherly presence Candy had where he didn't treat kids as younger than him. He was really respectful that way. The emotions they bring to each story are what make you constantly smiling. But when they get to the sadder aspects of John's life, like the people he's lost, how it affected him in the long term, and probably the biggest one, the fact that he was such a people pleaser, as genuine as his compassion was, and it helped so many people for the better, Conan O'Brien had a great story of the one day he met him at Harvard. It also made him a workaholic and overly focused on what other people thought of him as opposed to what he thought of himself. And it's no surprise that an actor would be too much of a people pleaser, but as opposed to most documentaries like this where they reveal that the actor was really a selfish prick who cared more about attention, John Candy genuinely wanted to give the audience what they wanted whenever they wanted. And the movie does a good job at showing there's a dark side of that without disrespecting the effort Candy put in as a performer. The only problem I had with the movie was the musical score. There's a tendency in documentaries to really sensationalize the music during the more heartwarming or tragic moments in a subject's life, and there were so many times around the halfway point especially where it not only felt manipulative, but was building up so much momentum with the stories describing the impact John had on everyone's life. Stories they usually save for the last 10 minutes of the movie, which gives this false impression so many times that you think it's about to end when they're just getting started. Or like there's a commercial break coming up, which, it is an Amazon movie, they sneak in ads, so that might have been what they were going for. It's not bad music overall, and the opening and final bookend of Dan Aykroyd and Catherine O'Hara's eulogies, they'll make you cry regardless, but the soft piano keys do elevate their speeches, but it was overbearing, and I think there could have been interviews or montages done in more silence to have more of an emotional impact that I think they were going for. Aside from that, I'm glad John Candy I Like Me was the last movie I saw at TIFF. The fact I got to see this in a theater with an audience made it so much more hilarious and bittersweet. It'll be a great streaming movie, but don't watch it alone. Grab some friends who love his work, and you'll laugh more and cry more for all the better. And with that, guys, thanks as always for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think of John Candy I Like Me. Be sure to stay tuned for more reviews, check me out on Patreon and buy me a coffee, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care, and may the Schwartz be with you.